Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Was that breakfast good?
Yes, sir.
I love breakfast. It's awesome. Well, happy Father's Day to everybody. Well, not to everybody. To every father. How about that? Happy Father's Day to all of our men. Happy Father's Day. Thank all of everybody who helped make up breakfast this morning. That was great. It was greatly appreciated. So thank you for that. And it's good that we have fathers. It's good that we have men to help lead our life. That is a good deal. That is an awesome deal.
Yes.
I often talk a lot about my father, and so I wanted to show you a picture of him today. I wanted to show you a picture of my dad. That is the day that I got married. My father was my best man. And while we were sitting back there waiting to get married. Pete was there, he was laughing at me. We were sitting back there waiting to get married, and one of Tammy's relatives was actually playing piano. Because I sang to her when she was coming down the aisle. Y'all should have heard her. Y'all should have been there. It was nice. Anyway, so she got the wrong music. And so she had to go back and get the right music. So we were delayed for how long, Pete? About an hour or something like that? 45 minutes? So me and my dad and one of my high school friends and then a couple of my college buddies, we were sitting in the back. Tammy's brother Jason, he was a young cat then, but he was back there with us because he was a part of the wedding party. And my dad is sitting there, he cool, we sitting there. And he said, son, now you know, you still got time to get out of this deal. He said, you can hit that back door right. He said, we can hit that back door right now and be in Vegas before nightfall. And I said, I looked at him, because he didn't crack a smile. He wasn't laughing, he just looked serious. And I said, are you serious? He said, yeah, I'm serious. I said, no, I don't think I'm gonna do that. I can't do that. It's too late, man. We already here. We in the church. He said, the wedding is late. It started late. That's a sign. We need to get out of here. And I said, no, I'm gonna stick this thing out. He said, well, okay. And he sat there a few more minutes, and he said, now if you do this, you gotta do it, son. And I said, you're right, Dad. He said, when you do it, it's a done deal. You in. So are you ready for this? And I said, ready or not. And he said, ain't that the truth? And we laughed about that. We laughed. And I say that because he was always sharing advice. He was always passing down how to be a man. And I didn't realize that until later. I didn't realize the lessons that I was learning until I got married, until I got out on my own, until I became a father, until I stepped into ministry. I didn't realize all the things that he had taught me down through the years since I was old enough to remember hanging out with him. I didn't realize that he was passing on valuable wisdom. And so today I want to share with you just probably 4 or 5 things that my father shared with me. And these are things that I often refer to as my core values. These are the things that I call, my value system. So these are lessons from my father. And I hope that they are a blessing to you as they have been a blessing to me over my years. I originally planned to preach on something else. I did. And yesterday I told Tammy, I said, I need to stay home today. I need to pray. I need to get some time with God because I'm running pretty low, getting close to empty. And so I need the day where I can relax and not have the kids around and so I was sitting there, I guess it was about, probably about 4:30. So well, this is not what I'm supposed to be saying tomorrow. So I pray that what comes out is a blessing to you. So these are lessons from my father. The very first one is I guess I call it my values. I said that already, so I'm repeating myself. But the first thing that he said is valuable that I learned was valuable was a good name. The value of a good name. And then, Jeff, I didn't write these scriptures down, but the first one in Proverbs. There you go. Yeah, I just got some notes on a piece of paper. I told Jeff, so I'm glad he got them on screen so I can read them. But this is what the Bible says. A good name is more desired than great wealth. Favor is better than silver and gold. A good name is to be more desired than great wealth. My dad and Spencer and around and everybody that knew him, they thought the world of him. And he would always tell me, he said, son, you have to make sure that you become a man of your word. He said, if you're bold enough to say it, then you better be bad enough to do it. He said, because one thing that you're going to learn throughout your life is that a man's word is a man's bond. Or you're only as good as your word. And he was, I worked hard. I learned this from my father, Big Johnny. He learned it from his daddy, Willis, that whatever you say as a man or your name, when they say Samson Moore, it should mean something. When everybody knows that you're my son, it should mean something. Is I've worked hard and long and tedious to make sure that when people hear Samson Moore, they know that it's a man of business. And I'm not going to let you mess that up. So he was always on me about keeping the integrity of the family name. He was always on me about being a man of my word. He was always on me about doing the right thing. He was always on me about making sure that when people saw me, they saw what I represented. He said, when you leave home and when you go out to public and when you out there cutting food, it's not just a reflection of you, son.
That's right.
It's also a reflection on me and what I stand for and what I believe. So I can't let you go out and act any kind of a way. Because a lot of the things that we would do in the way, because my dad was a part-time janitor, a full-time pastor, part-time, farm boy, raised cows. And so a lot of the things that he did was just on his word. I'm going to go down to so-and-so's house and get them 20 bales of hay and tell them I'll be by next Thursday to take care of it. Go up to the feed store, get 12 bags of corn, take it out there. I tell them I'll be by next week to get it. Yeah, they'll know who you are. And I never understood that. I never understood, what's the big deal? He always talking about, son, it means something that you're my son. What's the big deal? I ain't gonna stay on this farm all my life. I'm getting out of here, so. Then I became a man with children. And here's the deal. Because of who my father was, I learned to behave a certain kind of a way. So the things that, the benefits that the favor that he enjoyed from it, I automatically gathered around here in my community. And then guess what? When my kids came along, we came back home and everybody still knew Samson Moore. They knew he had a boy that left, but they still knew Samson. And my kids enjoyed some of the same benefits that I enjoyed. It's not because it started with me, but it was because of the name. Now let's take that to a spiritual realm. The reason why he was teaching me to make sure that the family name gets upheld is because there is a more important family that I'm involved with now. Young men, young ladies, there is never a greater responsibility to have than the name of being a Christian. There is no greater responsibility than you have is to represent Christ, your heavenly home. So what you do in life matters in eternity. The name that you create for yourself now is a reflection of who's living on the inside of you. So we got to be careful how we carry ourselves. We got to be careful how we talk. We got to be careful what we do and where we go. Because now I don't just represent Samson Moore, but I represent Jesus Christ.
Yes.
The name above every name.
Yes.
And so I got to make sure that I do everything I can to take the lessons that my father taught me about the value of a good name and apply it to my spiritual walk, because it's much more important to carry on the family name of the Lord Jesus Christ than it was ever Ron Moore or Samson Moore. There is a great responsibility that comes with carrying the name of Christian, Christ-like. Because if we're not Christ-like, then we are giving the wrong message to the world about who Jesus really is. So we have a great responsibility of make sure that your name, a good name, is more desired than silver and gold. Because here's the bottom line, and here's what I learned. Silver and gold are money or monetary things. They fade. They're here today and gone tomorrow. But when you have something as valuable as the name of Christ, that's forever. And so in Proverbs, a lot of the Proverbs is just wisdom. And we define wisdom as God's way of thinking. So here it is that Solomon was actually writing these Proverbs to his son or to other people to let them know that your name, what you represent, speaks so much about you. Make sure you uphold it. That's the first lesson that my father taught me, is that you got to have a good name. So what he was really saying was, you have to be a man of integrity. You have to make sure that you do the same thing whether people are watching or whether you're by yourself. You have to make sure that your word is your bond. You have to make sure that you're dependable. You have to make sure that you treat people right. You have to make sure that you do everything just like Christ told you to do. Because integrity should always be attached to the name of a believer. Number 2. And this one was probably my hardest lesson to learn. Number 2. Hard work. It says, Proverbs 14:23, in all labor there is profit, but mere talk only leads to what? In all labor there is profit. The word labor in the Greeks means toil and sweat and hard work. I didn't understand why in the summertime every day at 5:30, get up, boy. Eggs in the coop need to be gathered. Weeds in my garden need to be gone. Them hogs need their slop. The cows need their hay. Yard need to be cut. I got a pile of rocks that need to be moved from the front to the back. I can't remember. I don't know how old I was, but I was so excited the first time I could get 2 buckets of slop, 5 gallons, and carry. That excited me. But he said, you got to learn how to work. And not only just work, hard work. And I used to get so mad because I get up in the morning, Hagen, and I had a partner, James Warner, the kid I grew up with down the street. His daddy wasn't like my dad. So James would be riding his bike up to the pond to fish at 6 o'clock in the morning. Hey, Ron Lynn was my name. Ron Lynn, come on, let's go fishing. Can't go. And I would work from 5:30 in the morning to about 3:30 in the evening. And then I had a window of about an hour and a half to play. Because when I go play, my dad get home about 5 o'clock. It's time to go back to work again. Because the chickens still need to get some more feed. The hog got to be slaughtered. We got to get some hay out the field. We got to do this. We got to do that. And we got to go water the garden. And we got to go out to Mr. Cullen's house and help him with his stuff. And we got to go to Mr. Anderson's house and help him with his stuff. And all I did was a bunch of hard work. And I hated it. But this is what my daddy said. And I didn't understand this until now. He said, I can't have no lazy, good-for-nothing son.
All right.
How many times have you heard this, Ronald Jr.? If God forbid something happened to me, you say it again, Ashley. If I go down, you got to be ready to step in as man of the house.
All right.
If Daddy goes down, what he was saying was, and I didn't understand it, he was saying, I poured into you enough. I've affirmed you enough. I've taught you enough. I've equipped you enough that if I go down, you know what to do. But if you're lazy, won't work, want to sleep till noon, I say, son, if something happened to me right now, my wife and my daughters are going to suffer because you are not ready. You ain't ready. And I go back in my mind and say, boy, gosh, I sound like Samson. Lord. But I got to get this boy ready. And so my dad would get me up and I would work all hard and I'd be packing them slop buckets and throwing them big old bits. We had big square bales then. We didn't have the round bales. So when he said, hey, Saturday morning, 1,500 bales of hay got to be going out this field. 1,500 bales? God. See, yeah, that don't mean nothing to y'all because y'all know about that. But 1,500 bales mean that's 10 trucks of 150 bales of hay apiece. 10 trucks that's got to get from the field, stacked in the barn before the sun goes down. So that means from 5:30 in the morning to 10 o'clock at night, that's what it takes. We got to get this hay out of the field because rain is coming and this alfalfa can't get wet. Because that's one of the income when he can't work. So here I am. I don't know what you're going to do, son, but you better find some muscles today. My oldest brothers was going to college, and so a lot of time it was me, my daddy, and his partner, that man named James Thompson. And my daddy was going to drive the truck. He wasn't throwing no hay. His days was throwing no hay. I'm going to drive. If I have to get it, I can get it. And I would work, and I would toil, and I would sweat. But here's what I learned. And I will tell you what I really hated, stretching fence. Because back in my day, we had to go cut down these blackjack trees about 3 inches in diameter. And see, we didn't have no T-posts like you got now, the fancy stuff. No, I had some postcode diggers. You know what a postcode digger is? You might, because you're from the country. Because the postcode diggers, you dig a hole, you put the pole in, and you tamp the dirt back down. And you got 180 acres of fence to stretch before. And so that's what I did. So I hated that. But here's what I learned about hard work. Here's what I learned. Is that it taught me responsibility and it taught me pride.
Yeah.
It gave me some responsibility because if those hogs didn't get taken care of, they don't eat. If I don't tend to this garden and keep these weeds out and get these watermelons right, I can't eat. If I don't get this cow fat, I ain't gonna have no school clothes for when school comes, because that's my cow. I got to sit and buy my own school clothes. I didn't depend on daddy. I knew how to get my own school clothes. Get this cow that I bought for $7 because it was skinny and poor, worm him out, feed him, and get your school clothes. And I was so excited because not only did it give me responsibility, but it taught me pride. The first fence I ever put down on my own, man, it was just cricket. And I hated it, JD, I hated it. But what I learned was, after looking, okay, what did daddy do? Oh, he started up here and he stretched one row of barbed wire first down to the next stabilizing pole, and then he set the poles. And it made it straight. Let me try it. And after I would get through stretching fence, boy, I just looked at her. And it sure looked good because they were straight, it was pretty, everything was right. And man, I felt so good about the work that I had done. Yes, it was hard work. Yes, I hated it. Yes, I talked about it and said, boy, my daddy get on my nerve. All the stuff that y'all do, Rocker, and I did all of it. I hate this guy. But I felt so good when I got it right. And I said, oh boy, that sure looked good. When I took that cow to the market and it bought $1.25 a pound, which was going to equivalent about $600, man, it sure felt good. So it taught me responsibility and it taught me pride. Yes, I toil with my hands. And so what am I saying? Is that whatever you do, and this is the poem that my daddy drilled into my skull. I used to hear it in my sleep. If a task is once begun, never leave it till it's done. If you're feeble, able, if it's great or small, do it right or not at all.
All right.
And so working taught me to do things right. Because if I don't do it right, you're going to have to do it again. If you go in there and have to do it again, you're going to do it again. Because work is designed to transfer responsibility and to instill pride. So it's profitable. And guess what? The second part is just as true. If you're lazy, don't cry about what you don't have.
That's it. That's it.
And so that's why when I went to play football, that was easy because it was fun, Hagen. You call this work? This ain't work. This is fun. Lifting some weights. I've been packing slump since I was 7 years old. This is easy. I can do this all day. And running, jumping. I used to run and try to catch the hogs and the chickens. That was easy. So it was easy for me to outwork everybody in anything that I did. Why? Because it was easy compared to where I came from. Does that make sense? It taught me responsibility. And it gave me some pride. So now working for Jesus, I have the same responsibility, but I take the same pride in trying to do the best job I can do. Because that's what my Father, Heavenly Father, wants. Number 3, family and friends. In Genesis, the Bible talks a lot about what God did in the Garden of Eden. Friends would be second. That'll be the second. I couldn't narrow this down, so we're just going to sweep through Genesis as a whole. But God's focus and his emphasis, the first institution that God ever really created was family. He took Eve and he took her to Adam and he said, y'all be fruitful and multiply. And he blessed them. That's what the Bible said. He blessed them. The best that you're ever going to get in this life is your family. Some of the best memories that I have growing up is of my family. Now listen now, there were 11 kids. My mother was a school teacher in the 70s, the 60s and 70s is when I was raised. My father was a janitor for the Oklahoma City School Board and a pastor of a small church. 11 kids with about $40,000 of income. So now I understand why he taught me to work, because that God was going to feed us. But anyway, that's another story. But we were broke, we were poor. Yes, we were. But I didn't realize that because our family time was so enriching. I used to love the wintertime because, we had we had propane. And when the propane would go out, there was no heat in the house. And we had this thing, young people, that we call a fireplace that actually burned wood that kept the house warm. Well, we had a big old raggedy house with a lot of gaps and wind, and we couldn't keep it all warm. So what we did was we take old blankets and sheets and cover the doors and just be in the living room, the place where all the family gathers, not everybody in their own room with their phone. But we were all in the same place with the stove, a big old console TV that's set on a flat screen, big old TV about this wide, and it's set on the ground. Y'all remember those? They set on the ground. And someone had a record player on top. We couldn't afford that. We just had one that set on the ground, really big and long, and we sit around the fireplace. Listen to this. Somebody gonna know. And we didn't have no propane, so we didn't have no way to cook food. So we had an old iron pot, iron skillet, and we cooked right. We pulled some coals out the fireplace, and we cooked right there, sleep right there, watched it as a family. And I was so satisfied. Well, I would snuggle up to my mama, I'd get up underneath my daddy, and I was in heaven. Not realizing that, most people didn't do that because they could afford to have some heat. But we would get all of us gathered around laughing and talking. My mama loved Michael Jackson, so we put on Michael Jackson videos. When he had the Jerry Curl and the gold socks, the gold glove, the real Michael Jackson, not that other cat. Crazy one. And I enjoy it so much because everybody would tell stories about the day. And my daddy would be sitting there asleep most of the time, but we were all right. We had Jesus and we had each other, and we were all right. And then I fooled around and got married and got my own family. Some of the best times that we've had is arguing over who's winning the Monopoly game. And I would always try to figure out, why does Ashley always want to be the banker? That's how she wins. She's controlling the money. Allison and Rocket, they always fighting. Tammy, y'all be quiet, I can't sleep. She never plays, she's just there. So all of my memories, the best memories, and I've had some great memories, but my favorite times, the most enjoyable times, have been spent with my family or my friends. Then of course, Proverbs 17, a friend loves at all times. The best you're going to get is your family and your friends. When you're young people, you got a whole bunch of friends. Look on Facebook, got 247,919 and 11 friends. When you get about 30, you got 220 friends. When you get about 40, you got 3 friends. But they're your real friends. And you got a real friend that will stick close, that will come get you when you get in trouble. I'll be sitting beside you because y'all got in trouble together. That's a friend. And you're going to have all these wonderful experiences with this friend. Y'all have so many things in common. You do the same stuff. You laugh at the same jokes. You tell the same lies. You go to the same places. And life gets no better when you're with your best friend.
That's right.
So the best that this life has to offer is not the amount of money that you accumulate, but it's the friends and the family that you have that God has given you to enjoy.
Yes.
And so I love Christmas time because before my grandmother died, my mother's father, we'd all get together at Granny's house. And she had about 9 kids. And everybody would come in, and my grandma, she would start singing Amazing Grace or whatever hymn she would sing. And we all come into where she was, and she would remind us that the reason why we celebrate as a family is because of what Jesus did for us on Calvary's cross. The reason why we get together and have a good time as a family is because we believe that Jesus is our strength. And so what we're going to do now, we're going to have the family program. Every family got to get up and do something. My kids hate it, but I love it because it reminded me when I was a kid, hating to do it. Just go, we got to sing, I got to say something. But Granny would say, come on, Ariel, your family do something. And me and my brothers and sisters would get up and we sing and we do something, and everybody go, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then when they closed out, all of my uncles and aunties and my dad, her children would get together and they'd sing their favorite song, and then they would tempt to carry you up to, and we'd all laugh at just like my kids do us now, but we do the same thing. But the best memories that you'll ever create is with your family and your friends, because God gave you those things to enjoy. And always remember, if you're familyless and friendless, as a Christian, you have another family. The family that God put you a part of. You may not have no earthly family, but you got a family for eternity that you can hang out with, that you can share things with. You'll have things in common. You can laugh and you can enjoy life. Why? Because you got the same spirit, the spirit of Christ. And that's the family that I enjoy the most.
Yes.
Because we're going to be together for eternity. So I better love you now, because we got a long time to hang out. But the last and most important thing my father ever taught me. He said, son, you can't make it without Jesus. I remember when he got sick, I'd be carrying back and forth to dialysis. And at that time, I was still halfway playing ball, and we'd laugh and we'd talk. He said, how's Tammy? I said, you good, Pops. How my babies? Asking them with babies. How my babies? They do good. You didn't bring them by the house and they just see them. Okay. Tell Tammy to come to the church. I want to sing a song for me on Sunday. Okay, I'll tell him. He said, how you doing, boy? Well, Pops, I'm struggling. What for? I said, man, I don't know. I got cut. They Ain't got a degree, ain't got a job. I got this family to take care of. And he used to sing an old song. He used to say, and I ain't gonna sing it, so don't worry. But it was, he will take care of you. And I remember he made it up sitting out in his little study, and he laid back and put his hands in his head. He just sang that song, he will take care of you. And I learned from watching my father, I learned what it means to be under divine guidance and divine leadership from God. Because I watched my father through things that should have broken him, through things that he should have quit and given up. He held on, tied another knot, and hang on some more. And he kept pushing. He didn't give up. He kept preaching. He kept telling people that Jesus loved them. Why? Because when he was 16 years old, he discovered for himself that God will take care of you. It doesn't matter what life throws at you. When you have an authentic, genuine, loving relationship with Jesus Christ, come what may, he will take care of you. And I watched him when I knew what people were trying to do to him, when I knew what he was struggling with, when I knew what was on his heart. And he would get down on his knees and he would pray every day, Lord, today I need you. And I never seen God let my father down. Why wouldn't I want a relationship with God like that?
Yes. Yes.
So he said, son, you can't get to heaven on daddy's salvation.
That's right.
You got to get to know him for yourself. I had been in Sunday school since I could remember. I could tell you every Bible story, everything. But I didn't have a relationship with Jesus until I was 15 on my own. Listen, young people, you can be in the house with your mom and dad. They can take you to church. They can make you do all the stuff. But they cannot make Jesus your Savior. That's your job.
That's right.
But if you do it, if you let Jesus lead the way, if you let him lead you, if you let him guide you, if you accept his gift of salvation, he will never let you down.
Right.
No matter where you go, no matter what you do, you've got to have a relationship with Jesus. So I said, Pops, I'm struggling. He said, why? And I gave him all this long story about what I'm going through, what I'm dealing with. He said, what did Jesus say about it? I said, I don't know because I ain't talked to him. I'm so stressed out. He said, boy, haven't you learned nothing? Haven't you been watching? Haven't you been looking? I didn't stay on my knees. I didn't have you with me. I didn't train you so you can learn how to work and enjoy your family and have a good name. I had you with me so you can learn who Jesus is. Haven't you learned nothing? You plumb dumb. Stressing over nothing, boy. God can handle it. Ain't you been listening? He will.
That's all right.
And so I picked him up on the last day that he went to Dallas. And I said, Pops, what you want? He said, take me by George's store and get me a pork chop and some black-eyed peas. I said, you know you ain't supposed to be eating that stuff. He said, well, it doesn't matter. I'm going to die anyway. I said, what you talking about? He said, I'm not going back. That's it. That's enough. When a grown man can't go to the bathroom on his own, ain't no sense in living. So take me home. And I watched him lay on the bed. It broke my heart, but I knew his time was short. And I was over there one day, it was just me and him, and I was just sitting there. He said, son, yeah, my time is done. It's your turn now. And I'm standing here today because I had a man that poured into me. And I told Keith yesterday I've never preached a Father's Day sermon because I didn't think I could do it. But God will take care of you. I've had hell and high water in my life. If it hadn't been for the lessons that I learned from my father, I wouldn't have made it. I've been to a point I thought about killing myself. I thought about all that stuff, but and then everything I learned from my dad, it comes back to me. But the most important thing is that Jesus will take care of you.
All right.
It doesn't make a difference what you're going through today, what you're dealing with, how you feel, how depressed, how excited. Jesus will take care of you. Get to know him. So on this Father's Day, if you have not committed your life to Christ, if you've not let Jesus be your Lord and Savior, if you've not accepted his free gift, and maybe you have, but you've just been a knucklehead and you're not letting him lead the way. You're not surrendered to him. You're not under his lordship. Today is a good day to let God lead the way.